As a light about to blow out, it flickers. Flicker, flicker, flicker until it finally crashes. So it is with America. Mr. Trump, go, don't go, go don't go, go don't go. He was all cocked and ready but choked, releasing the trigger. Vacillation. Obliterate, no. Talk, obliterate, no. Talk. North Korea, Venezuela, China, Iran. Mr. Trump is rightfully hesitant. His instincts are correct, but the pressures are overwhelming. He will pull the trigger. Mr. Netanyahu, the evangelicals, and Saudi Arabia will see to that, very soon. War is but days away. The dragon, House of Saud, allied with Dajjal, Netanyahu, driving Gog, US, and Magog, UK, the dragon's angels, to a humiliating defeat against Iran, the Shia, Fard's angels.
The Middle East is about to explode. The tinderbox, the spark that will ignite the time of unprecedented trouble. World War III, the War of Armageddon. Who will strike first? Mr. Donald Trump, President of the United States. This is the time of restoration, the restoration of all things, the end of your reign of terror, the time for America to face 400 years of dammed up consequence. There is no, quote, making America great again, end quote. It was never great. It's your time of consequence. Advice: repent, pack up, and immediately lead a European ancestry exodus back to Europe, taking nothing with you but your clothing. The window for this brief mercy is quickly closing. Willingly or unwillingly, you will return from whence you came, either in chains or not. That's your choice, only choice. Time is of the essence. Jonah, in the name of Allah, Lord of the worlds. P.S. Leave Iran alone.
Michael and his angels fought. And the dragon and his angels fought. The dragon, Saudi Arabia. O you who believe, take not the Jews and the Christians for friends. They are friends of each other. And whoever amongst you takes them for friends, he is indeed one of them. Surely Allah guides not the unjust people. The House of Saud are not Muslim, they are Hindus set up by Britain, posing as Muslim. They will never make peace with Muslim Iran, as they are allies and puppets of Jews, false Israel and Christians, America. This is a decisive statement in the Quran. The dragon is Saudi Arabia, an enemy to Islam, a friend of Christians and Jews. Shit-eating monsters. They claim innocence. We can't be blamed for what our fathers, predecessors, ancestors did. Which, in itself, is a condemnation of the monsters that bred them. Yet, they honor those monsters, Washington, Jefferson etc., with the highest honors they can confer. Their own law condemns them. Anyone who knowingly receives ill-gotten property of any kind from the perpetrators, the obtainers of that property is as guilty as the perpetrators. So, if you go forth killing, murdering, stealing, etc., then anyone who knowingly accepts any portion of the fruits of your crimes are as guilty as you are. Their descendants, relatives, all Europeans, and everyone else who came voluntarily to America is enjoying the fruits of the crimes of those who murdered, tortured, stole, lied, raped, committed genocide etc. to get America. If they are so innocent, give America back to its original owners. Make the blacks whole. They never will, because they are just as much bloodthirsty, murdering, shit-eating monsters as their predecessors. They condemn Hitler, Kim Jong-un, and the likes, yet honor worst monsters, Jefferson Washington, rapist, oppressors, murderers, who presided over millions of suffering blacks, the genocide of millions of Native Americans. Hitler never raped anyone. Innocent. Hell.
Farad and his angels, the Shia, are about to square off with the dragon, the house of Assad, and its angels, Gog, Magog, and Dajjal, false Israel. A dramatic, climatic battle for control of the land of promise, a war in the Middle East. Gog/US and Gog/UK will be dragged in by Mr. Netanyahu. Mr. Netanyahu/false Israel knows they must strike now or never. Mr. Netanyahu has never seen the stars align so favorably. He doesn't expect that it will last past Mr. Trump's reign. Strike now or never. The dragon, House Assad, is in agreement with Mr. Netanyahu, and seeing all the constellations lined up in their favor, want to strike now. To that end, Mr. Netanyahu has convinced Mr. Trump to build up America's strike force in the region in preparations to take down Iran. They have a shock waiting for them, one from which they will never recover. The Iranians are prepared and motivated, even more than in the war with Saddam Hussein, an epic battle.
Mr. Trump is trying to save America, trying to revive America, trying to heal America, trying to make America great again. But, he can't. He thinks his devotion to false Israel is the balm required, but he has been deceived, is being deceived. The correct balm is repentance to, and the restoration of the true seed of Abraham, the true Israel, the original nation, who America have been oppressing for over 400 years. But he can't and won't dare to go there, for it will require the acknowledgement of the true seed of Abraham. He would be dead before he finished the sentence. 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed, howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. 9. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed, forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. War broke out in heaven, Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and its angels. The vision. There will be war. Not later but sooner, within days. All the major so-called monotheistic religions want it, demand it. The Sunni dream of it, for it is the time of their Muqti, the crusher of their enemies, the breaker of the cross, the elimination of the swine. The Shia pray for it, for it's the stepping up of their 12th Imam, a prototype of the Muqti, the restorer of Islam to imminence. The Jews call for it, insist on it, for it's the appearance of their Messiah, who will bring in the Messianic age, vanquish all their enemies, and give them possession of all the so-called Middle East, fulfilling the Moses and Abrahamic promise and covenant. The Christians demand it, for it signals the return of their Jesus, who will go forth and slay all the non-Christians. The evangelicals, in particular, are foaming at the mouth, desperate for war. The black Christians are less anxious but follow the lead of their Christian daddies. The Sunni agenda. The Sunni are in the grips of the House of Saud, Hindus masquerading as Muslims, whose position, authority is supported, guaranteed by Britain and America. The House of Saud seeks to maintain Arabia, and all its oil resources. Saudi Arabia came by that name when the British set the Saudis on the throne. The Saudis are a family of Hindus from India who the British placed on the throne of Arabia, changing the name of Arabia to Saudi Arabia, in case anyone had any doubts as to who is the owner, who is the boss, to protect the British interest, and to destabilize the Islamic authorities in the region. This was before the discovery of oil. The primary motivation was a reaction to Elijah Muhammad's claim of, the original people in America are the true seed of Abraham, the inheritors of the promise of return. The House of Saudi's mission is to ensure that that promise will never be realized. They have no intent on ever allowing the original nation to return and take possession of Arabia. The Jewish agenda. The Jews are impostors. They are claiming to be the seed of Abraham, the rightful heirs of the Abrahamic promise. The very existence of false Israel depends on their claim of descendants from Abraham, the 400-year suffering seed of Abraham, who have now returned to the promised land. The war, the Great War, will certify their claim as, according to the prophecy, once returned, they will never be removed. The war will devastate all their enemies round about, establishing false Israel securely and totally in control of the entire Middle East according to the promise. They believe that the awesome, invincible and dreadful power of the American military can secure that eventuality for them. The evangelical agenda. The white Christians, especially the evangelicals, agenda is even more desperate, more immediate. As the promise of return includes the terrible judgment and fate of the 400+ years oppressors of the seed of Abraham. They desperately need the war to validate that false Israel is real, that false Israel is the true seed of Abraham. This sense of desperation began after World War II, when Elijah Muhammad was found revealing that the original nation, the niggers of America, are the true seed of Abraham. That narrative had to be snuffed out immediately and completely, nipped in the bud. White Christians who previously, for thousands of years, hated Jews as much or more than the Nazis, suddenly saw Jews shit as honey, and began dining uncontrollably with alacrity. The Jews had to be the true seed of Abraham. The niggers the true seed? Unthinkable. Screw the evidence, the facts. The Jews just have to be the true seed, they just have to be, yes. They just have to be. So, they proceeded to make that lie a reality. America was going to be the God who fulfilled the Abrahamic promise of return, by establishing false Israel, and ensuring/guaranteeing their existence and safety forever. The Black Christian Agenda. The Black Christians, the demons, black-faced Caucasians have a less extreme desperate view than their white evangelical counterparts. While they support false Israel 100%, they want false Israel to be real, because they want to destroy the narrative of Elijah Muhammad that blacks are the true seed of Abraham, meaning, they will be leaving America one day, leaving behind an America doomed to destruction. They don't want to leave America, and they sure don't want America destroyed. They don't want Elijah nor his message to gain any traction among blacks. They want the original nation to stay right here, ignorant, fat, vulnerable and on the menu, as the original people are their cash cow. The original blacks are the fresh meat that the demons have been dining on since demons came to be in America. They are the fresh meat that their devil daddies have reserved for them, their demon children. They feared the loss of their meal ticket to Elijah, who was opening the door of the corral and letting their prey out, protecting from the demon predators, the demon parasites. The demons have gotten wealthy and fat off the original people. The demons want to stay right here with their devil daddies dining on the unsuspecting original people, who they, resembling them, can sneak up on and devour undetected. Wolves in sheep's clothing. Nightmare, shock. They all want the war. They all need it to certify their existence, to justify their actions regarding the true seed of Abraham. They all are pressing upon Mr. Trump to make their distorted vision a reality. They are pressing Mr. Trump hard, very hard. Mr. Trump is buckling under the pressure. Pressure from every corner. The Middle East will explode in war within days, to the cheers and bliss of the evangelicals, the Saudis, the Jews, and the black Christians. But their cheers and bliss will quickly revert to tears and fears, to anguish and mental paralysis. When they see what they never imagined, the nightmare they refused to contemplate, they were desperately trying to avoid. They will be ruined. The mighty forces of America, and false Israel being obliterated before their very eyes, Iran triumphantly taking control of all of Arabia and the holy sites, Mecca, Medina. False Israel on her knees begging for mercy, having been vanquished by the Shia. Fear, distress, shock. 25 And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, 26 Men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. 27 And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. 28 And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up, and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. Fear, distress, shock. The earth is symbolic of the European-controlled nations, America, Britain, Russia, Europe, and false Israel. The heavens represents the Middle East. Who are the powers in control of the Middle East? Primarily false Israel, and Saudi Arabia, backed by America. These powers are about to be shaken violently, shaken to their very foundation. Shaken to their cores. Shaken, broken, and dispatched from the Middle East, America and Britain will be in a state of trauma, extremely traumatized following the shock of the defeat of the US, UK and false Israel. 26 Men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Revenge. The nations are tired of Caucasian rule. 6,000 years of mischief and bloodshed. 6,000 years, culminating in the most bloodthirsty, oppressive, evil, corrupt, hypocritical, wicked, filthy, lying, thieving, nation that ever took breath. Gog and Magog, America and Britain respectively. Gog and Magog have spread across the surface of the planet, terrorizing/bullying every nation who will not yield to its evil ideas. Who will not bend the knee to them, who will not worship Dajjal, false Israel, the false image of gold they have set up, the false prophet. America is not pressuring the nations. America is reacting to the ever-increasing unrelenting pressure the nations are imposing on her. Panic. America will be in a state of extreme panic. Mental paralysis. Shock. It will be in this climate that will result in the abomination of desolation. Evangelicals desperate to revive the bloodied, crippled vision, will demand Mr. Trump act. To revive the vision of the eternal restoration of Israel. Mr. Trump will be pushed to commit an act of supernatural terror, called the abomination of desolation. An act of desolation, a universal abomination. The implication is a nuclear strike upon Jerusalem, which is in the hands of the victorious Shia. A devastating strike upon women, children, all the inhabitants of Jerusalem. America's, Gog's, parting blow. Resistance. Resistance is growth. Without resistance, there is no growth. No pain, no gain. Everything that grows experiences resistance. Growth is the process of accumulating space and power. To obtain either or both requires taking it from others that have it. We live by consuming the life of other living things. We must relieve other life of their life to maintain and grow our life. That is a fact, a fundamental fact of existence. You want power, you must take it from those who have it. As one nation rises, another falls. As one empire rises, another descends. Power. Growth/power is forcing your will upon others. You are forcing others to make room for you. To grow, you must gain and control additional space. Gain and control additional energy. All space is energy. Everything is energy. To gain, to control, you must take from others who are occupying the space, who are controlling that space. They will not want to relinquish that space, relinquish that control. Resistance. They will not relinquish without a fight. If you fear the fight, your growth has ended. If you are not growing, you are either dead or dying. If you are dying, then you are being consumed by others who are growing. Success. If one goes to the gym, they should know that the heavier the weight, the greater the resistance, the greater the result. If you fear resistance, then you fear success. Resistance is the mother of success. Resistance is the womb of success. The greater the resistance, the greater the success. You can measure the degree of your anticipated success by the degree of resistance. The resistance you encounter on your road to success is the mother of your success. Your will to grow is the father of success. Without mother, without the egg, without resistance there is no growth, no success. Resistance is like a weight, it's dormant until lifted. Resistance does not exist until there is growth. Without father, without life, without growth, there is no resistance, no success. You want success, prepare for war with resistance. Cowards run from adversity/resistance. The fearful, the faint of heart, the weak-minded, and all cowards are never successful. Resonance. Resonance is persistence. You have heard that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Well, that's also the definition of persistence. Be careful of anecdotes. Resonance is persistence, tenacious persistence. Striking the same note over and over until the resistance shatters. Nothing visible, but faith in the mathematics of it. The greater the resistance, the more dramatic and sudden the shattering. Resonance is belief/faith in the unseen. Faith must be tethered to facts. You don't know that a pot will boil, but you have faith that it will by virtue of the fact of experience. Resonance is an act of faith. The tapping process can be seen but the resonance can't. However, the effect of the resonance is very visible and audible once the object of the resonance shatters. Resonance requires faith and patience. Allah is with the faithful and the patient. Allah is mathematics. Allah is resonance. Truth resonates. Lies explode. Muslim. Muslims are the emergent. The emergent are those who have rejected the status quo, they have rejected/forsaken this world's life. The emergent, the Muslims are the successful. They are at war with the resistance, the status quo. The greater the success, the greater the resistance. They have embraced the resistance in a great, intense battle. The greatest, most intense battle in history. Do you think you will have success without being tried? Quran. The trial is the resistance. Resistance separates the truth from the lie. The believer from the disbeliever. Muslims are in sync with Allah, in sync with the creation. The creation which is ever changing, ever growing. The status quo are struggling against creation, against Allah. Their struggle is ever weak. Jinn. The jinn are the status quo. The jinn are not a race. The jinn are a characterization. Anyone who resists change is a jinn. The jinn are the status quo, they have the power, and resist any change that will dampen, diminish, or extinguish that power. Iblis refused to relinquish/yield power to Yaqub's grafted devils. The jinn are the resistance. Their efforts are ever weak. They, the jinn, are at war with the ever-changing creation. Dr. Yaqub. Devils, the Caucasians, Dr. Yaqub's grafted creation. The devils were endowed with luck. Energy is luck. Positive energy is good luck. Negative energy is bad luck. The devils are out of sync with the creation. They were created to fill a 6,000-year vacuum of energy deprivation. The available energy within the earth was not enough to maintain the internal energy needs of the original people. Dr. Yaqub, through a process of genetic engineering, manufacture a stripped-down version of the original people, requiring significantly less internal energy. A man-like being who could run and function off low-grade fuel. The result being a creature, an image and likeness, who had effective external energy, good luck, giving them power over their externally energy-deprived fathers, the original people. The Dr. Yaqub process is the backstory behind circumcision. He circumcised his people, meaning he removed their foreskin, their black nature, and black skin, making a being who would thrive during the period of energy deprivation, while the uncircumcised would be under the curse of energy deprivation. That is the mystery behind circumcision. The contracting universe increasingly generates positive energy for the earth, increasing the availability of energy to the original people, empowering them, crushing the devils out of existence. The devils are the resistance. They, being contrary to the creation, are at war with the creation, to be crushed by a growing energized creation. Demons. The demons are black-face Caucasian devils, the result of 400 years of unrestrained, unrelenting rape of black women. They have the nature of their rapist progenitors, with the complexion of the original people. Demon, half devils, half man, Deman. They are the resistance, the hidden resistance. The original nation is plagued with demons, the chaff/tears, that the Ancient of Days will separate out, purge from among the ranks of the righteous, the original people. They are the hidden enemy, who, resembling us, can walk and talk among us undetected, unnoticed while hunting, dining, preying on us. The demons, Martin Luther King disciples, have gotten fat and rich off the original people. The so-called black leaders, black politicians, civil rights organizations, black preachers, black entertainers, who besmirch the black image all over the world for money, for fame, etc., etc. How does a community organizer become a millionaire? Dr. Shabazz. Dr. Shabazz, the patriarch of the tribe of Shabazz, decided that he wanted his tribe to emerge from the period of energy deprivation with the greatest possible degree of success. So, he made his tribe as strong as possible, able to endure the greatest resistance possible, which would result in the greatest success once the resonance of their faith had shattered their resistance, their enemies. The great reward, the promised reward, the realization of the covenant made to a subsequent patriarch, Abraham. The promise of return, the promise of the rise to prominence among the nations. Abraham. Abraham was first called Abram. Significance being, Abraham, Ishmael, would be separated from his seed, Isaac's descendants, called Ham, who was cursed to be enslaved for 400+ years. During which Abraham would be known as Abram. Once the curse had passed, and his seed was reunited, he would then be known as Abraham. Energy deprivation. Energy deprivation is the cause of sleep, and so-called old age. Prior to being afflicted by energy deprivation, we had no need or desire to sleep. We were highly energized. So-called old age is the body attempting to preserve the primary, critical organs, to the detriment of the less critical organs. When there is not enough internal energy available, the body disperses energy in such a way as to preserve the most critical functionality. Appearance is low priority. Now, that we are receiving positive energy, one of the most dramatic benefits will be the restoration of youth. Eventually, victory over sleep. The Shia, whose physical constitution is similar to Farad's, will be the first to realize these benefits. The elect of the Son of Man, the 144K, the seed of Abraham who endured the 400 years of terror, who endured the full impact, will be the last to realize these benefits, though the first to be elevated. Salats. Reciting the Quran in a voice not loud, for at least 1 hour per day, will generate torque. Torque is the result of spinning, or circulation. The circulatory system spins about the heart, through the heart. The firmer the heart, the more consistent the spin, generating ever greater torque. Torque causes the spinning object that generated it to be upright. The more recital, the more spin, the more torque, the more upright. The more upright, the more stable. Stability forces harmony. However, in the midst of the non-spinning, the non-upright resist the spinning of the upright. They are the resistant, who will do everything in their power to frustrate, stop the spinning. To turn a believer back to disbelief. The stability, uprightness of the believer will draw out the demons from their hiding place, howling and growling. But they are not to be feared. Their power was in their incogitances, their invisibility. Exposed, they are toothless dogs, howling and growling. Fasting. Fasting, the more of it, the better, as fasting also draws out demons. Fasting trains your body to requires less internal energy, which allows for more external energy, luck, power. In a pressure system, which is our reality, everyone has equal force. Mass times acceleration equals force. The more mass you have, the less acceleration. Acceleration is energy. The more mass, the less energy. The more you fast, the more energy. The more energy, the more luck. Luck, good luck, is an impenetrable force field. Having more external energy is growth, generating resistance. The demons will resist any and all growth. Your growth forces the demons out into the open, in their increasing efforts to frustrate your growth. In their frustrating efforts to resist your growth, they expose themselves. Exposed, rendered impudent. Resistance can impede, but never harm the skilled, dutiful jihad warrior. Your Islam converts force to pressure. As with a bulletproof vest, which converts the fatal force of a speeding bullet to the impact of the pressure of an explosive punch. Impactful, but not fatal. Luck. Luck is not some mystical, nebulous, magical phenomena. Luck is a real, mathematical, scientifically measurable concept. Love, another seeming mystical phenomena, is also a mathematical, scientifically measurable concept. Everything is mathematics, everything, without exception. Luck is energy. Good luck is positive energy. Bad luck is negative energy. The more energy, the more luck one has. You can create luck, generate luck. The 5 pillars of Islam are luck generators. You create/generate your own, good or bad luck. As the Quran reveals, in the opening or expanding of the universe, energy is transferred from the earth to the heavens. During the closing, contracting of the universe, energy is returning. During the 6,000-year period it takes to transfer from expanding to contracting, the original people suffered energy deprivation, bad luck. Now that we are in the contraction phase, the original nation is being energized. Do not those who disbelieve see that the heavens and the earth were closed up, so we rent them? And we made from water everything living. Will they not then believe? Jubilee. Every 50 years, on average, energy is either being transferred from the earth in the forming of the heavens during the expansion phase or transferred to the earth from the heavens in the contraction phase. The transfer arrives in waves. It is momentous in the heavens and the earth. It will not come to you but of a sudden. Since the so-called Civil War, when the earth received its first wave of positive energy, which energized blacks breaking their physical chains, there has been 3 additional waves. The one spearheaded by Farad and Marcus Garvey. The next, in the 60s, spearheaded by Elijah with ministers like Malcolm, Ali, and the Dream Prophet Martin Luther King for the demons. Breaking the social chains of blacks. Now, 2019, we are due the next, which has already arrived, having penetrated the earth, saturating it, transforming the energy into a form we can use. Duality. Notice that each phase produces two significant personalities, with differing visions. One for the demons, and one for the original. Phase 2. Marcus Garvey, demons. Farad, originals. Marcus Garvey, Christian. Go back to Africa. Blend in and rule the Africans with America's support. The country of Liberia was a child of the Garvey movement. Farad Muhammad, Muslim. The fulfillment of the Abrahamic promise, return of the original nation to Arabia. Phase 3. Martin Luther King, demons. Elijah, originals. The dream prophet of the demons, Martin Luther King, who advocated integration with devils. Inclusion, brotherhood. Social acceptance. Elijah Muhammad, message just the opposite. Separation from devils. Denial of brotherhood, kinship, or any connection to devils. Departure from America, and a total repudiation of America's social prerogatives. Phase 4. This phase is in process. There is the son of perdition, demon, Farrakhan, who is advocating closer ties with America, rejecting the promise of return. The son of man, original, who will fulfill the promise of return, the identification, exposure, and purge of demons. The destruction of devils. Implications. Implications are powerful mental weapons. They are like mines that are planted, waiting to explode. Or like atoms, small and insignificant until split, then they explode, blowing away everything around it. The mind is the operating system that runs on your brain, the hardware. Religion, ideology, is the software that one installs on their operating system, installs in your mind. Compilers are the software that serves as a screen to protect unwanted instructions, false directions from entering into your operating system, your mind. Implications are a stealth device designed to bypass the compiler protocols, to explode in your mind. Everything in your mind is connected, so each thought, idea, memory is affected by all others. It is that fact, that the idea of implications are designed to take advantage of. If they expanded the idea, revealing the true message, you might reject it. Like a song whose lyrics that mocks you, your people, your faith, that has you humming and patting your feet, because of the melody. You see women dancing, humming, and singing songs, that calls them hoes, bitches, hood rats, etc. The devils and demons have their fingers deep within our mind, manipulating us in ways we can't even imagine. Implications. Artful, skilled communicators, especially deceivers, employ implications to disguise the real message. For instance, evolution, a seemingly harmless theory that in fact is far from harmless. The racial implications of that theory sparked and fueled World War II. The implications of that ideology provided the justification for enslavement, genocide, white supremacy/superiority, racism. The theory implies that the first is the worst, the first being blacks, and the last is the best, the whites being the last. The last, the whites, are still evolving, while the blacks, like the apes, have stopped evolving. Reducing blacks to animals, beasts to be used by those still evolving, the whites. You may not even be aware that those ideas are impacting your thoughts and actions, but they are. Let's consider the idea that we, blacks, ain't going nowhere. We are staying right here in America. Seemingly harmless statement. Told to a people, blacks, who were taught that America is the land of devils, persecutors of countless millions of blacks for hundreds of years. An America that God has reserved for destruction by her enemies. What's the implication? America is now our home to be defended from her enemies, making God our enemy now. We are now defending our enemies. We will be fighting alongside devils against God. Devils are no longer devils, they are now enemies who have become our friends. God is a liar as he declares we would return, but we won't. We ain't going nowhere. Son of perdition. The mouth would make war with the saints and overcome them until the arrival of the Ancient of Days. Then the saints would be given the kingdom. It is clear that the saints must be the FOI/MGT if anyone has been paying attention to Elijah Muhammad's teachings. The saints being the FOI/MGT, then they must be under the spell of the mouth. The mouth. The mouth is controlled by the beast. He is the mouth of the little horn who is making war with the saints. How does mouth make war? With words, with deceit, with lies, falsehood. Aaron was select solely for his speaking ability, his mouth. That was his resume. But his works proved to be deceptive. He betrayed his mission, Moses/Elijah, so much so, that both Moses/Elijah, God/Pharaoh wanted to kill him. That is in both the Bible and Quran, for those who claim the Bible can't be trusted. According to the Bible, Aaron was put to death, and all his followers were slaughtered. The mouth. The mouth, the son of perdition, is the first line of resistance to the Ancient of Days, the Son of Man. The saints were prepared by Elijah to welcome and assist the Son of Man. But minstrel Farrakhan has turned the nation of Islam into a haven of demons, as himself. The Injil reveals him as the chief demon. They are doing everything possible to snuff out the light of the Injil, to make it never see the light of day. They will of course fail, as the more they resist, the greater the resonance, the greater, the more dramatic the shattering of their efforts and themselves. The liar. Minstrel Farrakhan is skillfully employing implication devices against the FOI/MGT. We ain't going nowhere. Don't call devils devils, they are the enemy. Jews ain't devils anymore, just those evil satanic Jews, whoever they are. Whites can be members of the Nation of Islam. Prophecy is probability. Ideas from his real teacher, Wallace Muhammad. A son who hated his father and everything he stood for or accomplished. All the quotes are powerful implication devices. Prophecy is probability, a damn lie, the implication that the word of Allah is not sure. Prophecy must be 100% from end to end. If just one thing probably doesn't happen, then all that follows won't either, rendering the prophecy, Allah's words, impudent, worthless. The point is to protect his scriptural flank from anyone diligent enough to look and see what the scriptures, Allah, has to say about him, which is much, and none of it is good. Betrayal. These are the teachings of Wallace Muhammad, who with Farrakhan tore down the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam didn't fall, they tore it down, buried it, and laid the foundations of a slab stone called the Bilalians on top as a gravestone and marker. They both denounced Elijah and Pharaoh as fraud and con men. Having killed and buried the Nation of Islam, Wallace cast out Farrakhan, leaving him broke, rejected. Farrakhan turned away from Islam altogether, and ran back to Massa begging to be allowed to get back on the stage and shake his calypso ass for Massa. Imagine that. The national representative of the Messenger of Allah, running back to Massa. Massa, please, please, I'm sorry, I'll be a good boy. Imagine that. Ask him if anything said here is a lie. He didn't turn back to Islam. A brother had to convince him, a broke rejected Farrakhan, to come back and exploit what remained of the Nation of Islam that he had slain and buried. He had little choice. He says it himself, he was broke with no other prospects. 1. Now we request you, brethren, with regard to the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and our gathering together to him, 2. That you not be quickly shaken from your composure or be disturbed either by a spirit or a message or a letter as if from us, to the effect that the day of the Lord has come. 3. Let no one in any way deceive you, for it will not come unless the apostasy comes first, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction, for who opposes and exalts himself above every so-called God or object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of God, displaying himself as being God. 5. Do you not remember that while I was still with you, I was telling you these things? 6. And you know what restrains him now, so that in his time he will be revealed. 7. For the mystery of lawlessness is already at work, only he who now restrains will do so until he is taken out of the way. 8. Then that lawless one will be revealed, whom the Lord will slay with the breath of his mouth and bring to an end by the appearance of his coming. 9. That is, the one whose coming is in accord with the activity of Satan, with all power and signs and false wonders. 10. And with all the deception of wickedness for those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth so as to be saved. 11. For this reason God will send upon them a deluding influence so that they will believe what is false. 12. In order that they all may be judged who did not believe the truth, but took pleasure in wickedness. Elijah Muhammad was restraining the plotters. The plotters were seeking the messenger's life, so that they could take over the nation of Islam. Elijah Muhammad had to be quickly taken away as the plotters were closing in. Once the messenger was removed, the plotters were unbound. No one to restrain them. The plotters, Wallace and Farrakhan, trashed the messenger, and Farad. They tore down the nation of Islam, sold off all its assets, then buried it. They laid the foundation stone of their Bilalian madness on the grave of the nation of Islam. With the overthrow and demise of the nation of Islam, the believers scattered, having no one to lead them in the path of the messenger. The plotters denounced Fad and the messenger. They destroyed all the nation of Islam documentation they could get their hands on. All the messenger's publication were discarded. The messenger's paper, Muhammad Speaks, was dismantled and closed down. There was no place for the true believers to go, so they dispersed. The great falling away. With the messenger gone, the nation of Islam defunct, the believers disenchanted, dispersed, disorientated, vulnerable, looking for a leader, the son of perdition steps forth, their savior. The son of perdition, Farrakhan, sitting in the temple of the messenger and Farad, will declare himself a god, the long-awaited Jesus, the supreme being.
I'm a young God.
The son of perdition, Farrakhan, the mouth has taken control of the nation of Islam, filled it with demons who have no love for scripture, prophecy, or the messenger's teaching. They love the chief demon Farrakhan. Farrakhan is the only truth for them. Scriptures are corrupt. Prophecy is probability. The messenger's teaching are defined by Farrakhan, who openly distorts and or changes them. They reject or ignore clear prophecy on their express way to perdition with their idol, Farrakhan. The blind leading the blind. The credentials of the Son of Man is his unveiling of the Injil, of which Farrakhan has no knowledge, none, nada, not even one verse. Thrones cast down. The falling away was the followers of the nation of Islam, falling away after Wallace and Farrakhan had destroyed and buried the nation of Islam. First the messenger had to be removed, who was holding back the plotters, Wallace and Farrakhan. The Injil reveals that Farrakhan was already plotting with Wallace even before the messenger's departure. Once the messenger was taken out of the way, then the son of perdition / Farrakhan would be revealed. He would declare himself as a god, in the temple of God. The temples of the nation of Islam was established by Farad, the god. His works would be according to the works of Satan, the Jews, who he is controlled by. He has to invoke Elijah's name, cloak himself with the name of Elijah, so as to conceal his true identity, works, and mission. But he is being consumed by the truth of the Injil and soon to be destroyed. All his demon followers will perish with him. Till thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit. The thrones are Farrakhan and his officials. Growing emergent Islam. Islam is mathematics, and mathematics is Islam. Islam is the nature of the original man, the material, from and by which the original man created himself. Islam is growing, as the creation is growing. Islam is under attack. The resistance is intense, as the growth is intense. Islam in the East, and Islam in the West. Islam in the East is growing, in a state of purification. The disbeliever see an Islam on the ropes, faint and staggering. No. What they see is the exposing and purging of the demons and devils who were infused among the ranks of the believers. Think not that the believers are dead, they are alive, but you perceive not. First the Sunni, now the Shia. The Shia are Farad's rod of iron, the Shia's 12th Imam. Their growth, met by intense resistance, called maximum pressure, by Mr. Trump, is completing the purification, hardening of the iron. Iran is growing faster than their brothers, the Arabs in the Middle East, thus the intense resistance, the maximum pressure. Warriors. The Muslim is a jihad warrior. A soldier of Islam. A Muslim must embrace resistance. Embrace it as a beloved honored relative. Embrace resistance and don't let go. Resistance is evidence of your success, of your victory. You must put on your armor. Fasting is your bulletproof vest, your protective force field. Salats, Quran recitation in a voice not loud, is your stability, your strength, the iron in your spine, the firmness of your feet. Salats firms your heart as well as your voice. Your voice and heart are connected. Reciting verses from a firm heart, Allah's heart, Quran, inculcates the firmness of His heart into your heart. Prophesy, the Injil, is your weapon, your resonating sonic weapon, knocking out the brains of the wicked, the disbelievers. Remember the walls of Jericho. Faith, the knowledge of mathematics. The more knowledge of mathematics, the more knowledge of Islam. Islam is mathematics. Faith, the sure knowledge of your victory. Of the hereafter they are sure. You have paid the blood price, 400 years of insufferable suffering, now it's time for the reward. Secure in the knowledge of the fundamental, immutable fact that every action has an opposite but equal reaction. The action was 400 years of suffering. The reaction is the reward, the promise of return. You will shatter many demons, devils, and jinn along the way. Your growth will force your enemies to reveal themselves as the resistance. Keep score. Analytical mind. The analytical mind is the grafted mind. There are two hemispheres, two sides to every brain. The spatial are right brain orientated, while the analytical are left brain orientated. The analytical mind unbound is contrary to the creation. The analytical mind must be subordinate to the spatial mind, otherwise it is inordinate, wicked. The rebellious analytical mind is cancerous. The analytical mind honors force. It is linear. Force is the most fundamental principle of the universe. Every action has an opposite but equal reaction. Justice, the balance represented by the equal sign. Force is linear, pressure is spatial. Pressure is multiple forces in an enclosed volume. Pressure is comprehensive. The incomprehensive analytical mind, the inholistic analytical mind is destructive to a spatial environment, as the analytical mind cannot comprehend the connections, interactions, synergism of the creation, tinkering with components without an effective understanding of the consequence on the whole. Spatial mind. The spatial mind is the dominant mind. The spatial mind is comprehensive, holistic. The environment, the creation sprang from the spatial mind. The spatial mind thinks in terms of pressure, when it is functioning normally. Pressure is comprehensive. The spatial mind is in sync with the creation. The creation is an expression, an extension of the spatial mind. The spatial mind encompasses the analytical mind. The Injil is incomprehensive to the Kavis, the devils, because it was created by spatial intelligence, so much so, that they cannot decipher even one verse. It is even difficult for the normal spatial mind. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways and my thoughts than your thoughts. The spatial Injil 1. And I saw upon the right of the sitting upon the throne little book hearing been written from inwardly and from behind, having been sealed down to seal 7. 2. And I saw angels strong heralding in voice great who worthy to open up the little book and to loose the seals of it. 3. And no one was able in the heaven nor upon the earth nor underneath the earth to open up the little book nor to be looking at it. 4. And I was weeping much because no one worthy was found to open up the little book nor to be looking at it. 5. And one out of the older persons is saying to me, not be you weeping, look. Conquered the Lion, the out of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, to open up the little book and the 7 seals of it. Arab Spring, purification. The so-called Arab Spring is a purification process. The growth of Islam in the Middle East is forcing the devils and demons out into the open as the resistance. The Arab Spring is a cleaning, purging process. The analytical mind sees the Arab Spring, flailing, stumbling about. The spatial mind sees the truth of the situation, growth, and resistance. The Arabs after the time of Muhammad, virtually before his body turned cold, have been steadily infiltrated by devils. The devils taking wives, producing demons. The devils brought their superstition, grafted view of reality, corrupted understanding of the scripture with them. Their grafted, analytical ideas polluted the spirit of Islam established by Muhammad, so much so, that the Prophet stated that his mathematical Islam would be unrecognizable within a few short generations. Sunni Islam has been Christianized. The Muslims called extremist, are seeking to channel the spirit of Muhammad. The so-called moderates, the secular, liberal, traditional, Muslims, are the resistors. You are witnessing the emergence of those seeking unpolluted Islam. If you believe as the Prophet taught, you are called a fundamentalist, which is akin to extremist. The fundamentalist will emerge victorious, though the resistors be adverse. They, though Sunni, will join the army of the Shia, in the war between Michael/Farad and his angels, and the dragon/house of Saudi and their angels. Resistant West. Resistance to Islam in the West is purposeful, and intense. Yet it isn't visible. The Islam in the West should be subject to as much or even more resistance as in the East. Yet, virtually nothing. Why? Because you are looking in the wrong place, have little to no knowledge of Scripture, or a perverted understanding of Scripture. The nation of Islam/saints would be under the control of the mouth, the son of perdition. Called the mouth as that was the only attribute which qualified Aaron to lead the saints/nation of Islam. The resistance is not there. 1. Because the nation of Islam is not growing. 2. Because the leader, the chief demon, is in league with the resistance. He is the primary resistor. The Ancient of Days had to cast down the leadership/thrones of the nation of Islam who were resisting him before he could take control and rid the nation of Islam of its demons. The Ancient of Days, with his Injil hammer, is generating ever greater resonance, to the point where the resistors are about to shatter. The breakthrough, the shattering, is timed to be simultaneous with the shattering of the dragon and its armies in the Middle East. Once the resistance of the son of perdition is shattered, then the resistance of the devils will be made visible. They will first send the demons, the Black Caucasians, against the nation of Islam, followed by every force they can muster. The Ancient of Days. The Son of Man/Ancient of Days weapon is the Injil. Each verse an armor-piercing bullet. The revealing of each verse is a wave of resonance, ever increasing in intensity, continues without pause, tap, tap, tapping. Hear the wall of resistance cracking? Listen carefully, slight but increasing. Fractures, fault lines forming everywhere. Wall of Jericho. Farrakhan, the mouth, is silent, paralyzed, as a deer caught in the headlights, surprised, and not knowing what to say, what to do, while its fate is fast approaching, awaiting its doom. It is crystal clear that the Injil/Gospel/Revelations can only be revealed by the Ancient of Days. If Farrakhan, the mouth, had a clue, he would be revealing it. Instead, he is being consumed by it, as the deer caught in the headlights, frozen, awaiting its certain doom. Awaiting the Ancient of Days, the Son of Man, to expose him, dispatching him and his demons, casting down their thrones. Cleaning house with his fuller's soap. The Ancient of Days is called that because he will restore all things. He is old school, and will restore the planet to its original owners, and to its original culture. The Ancient of Days/Son of Man is 100% dissatisfied. Which means he is facing 100% resistance, 100% resistance from family, relatives, and the entire planet. He is overcoming the resistance to establish a 100% change, a universal change, free of the offenders of truth and harmony. The Son of Man. The Son of Man/Ancient of Days is rising. He is moving fast. He's traveling at hypervelocity, and will not be hindered or delayed. Anyone who can't keep up is left behind. He's facing global resistance. Maximum resistance. Total triple resistance. As the first God faced resistance, total triple darkness in the form of pressure, the pressure of a fully contracted universe, the Son of Man is facing maximum resistance. He has to contend with and overcome the total triple darkness of intense tension, the opposite of pressure, from a full extended universe. The Son of Man has went to war with resistance. The first wall of many is about to be shattered. The wall of demons set up by the son of perdition, Farrakhan. The next will be the Christian demons. The Son of Man is moving quickly. Anyone who can't keep up will be left behind. The Son of Man is adorning his war garments, and his battle weapons. Time for war, time for battle. The day of war, the day of battle. His wrath is pure, his wrath is just. Jihad. Jihad, the spiritual struggle. The Jihad struggle is the battle of resistance. Eternal struggle. There is always resistance. Each advancement generates resistance. Perpetual advancement, perpetual resistance. The resistance takes many forms, as advancement has many faces. In our time, resistance is violent. Intense violence, to increase to unprecedented heights. Never has the jinn been so entrenched. Virtually the entire planet is the resistance. The resistance has infiltrated the ranks of the saints, the ranks of the righteous. The greatest jihad ever. The Son of Man, the warrior God, will lead his jihad warriors to a glorious decisive victory. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the full armor of God, so that you will be able to stand firm against the schemes of the devil. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the full armor of God, so that you will be able to resist in the evil day, and having done everything, to stand firm. Stand firm therefore, having girded your loins with truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having dressed your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace, in addition to all, taking up the shield of faith with which you will be able to extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. And take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Wisdom. Pressure is mathematics. Islam is mathematics. Mathematics is Islam. Most have no appreciation or understanding of that statement. Reality is mathematics. Surely we have created everything according to a measure. There is knowledge, and there is wisdom. There is virtually no wisdom present in this world. There is much knowledge, yet very little understanding of it. There is no understanding of what wisdom is. Luck is often mistaken for wisdom. The devils, Dr. Yakub's creation, were endowed with 6,000 years of luck. Wisdom is not experience. If it were, all the elderly would be wise, and we know that ain't true. Wisdom can be given, so one can obtain it. He grants wisdom to whom he pleases. And whoever is granted wisdom, he indeed is given a great good. And none mind but men of understanding. Wisdom. Wisdom is having a comprehensive knowledge of reality, which is mathematics. Pressure is the dynamics of our reality. The more one studies, understands pressure and how it is in fact the nature of our existence, and how it applies, the wiser one is. If you don't understand that reality is pressure, you are void of wisdom. If you don't understand that Islam is mathematics, if you don't understand mathematics, then you don't understand Islam. You are just talking out of your behind. I've yet to meet just one so-called imam that had any sense of mathematical Islam, thus of Islam. They repeat verses from the Quran and Hadith, and push their limited, very limited understanding of them as knowledge and wisdom, devoid of both. Conjecture. Conjecture with firm resolution. As Elijah stated, he would not give 5 cents for their understanding of Islam. (3:6) He it is who has revealed the book to thee. Some of its verses are decisive, they are the basis of the book, and others are allegorical. Then those in whose hearts is perversity follow the part of it which is allegorical, seeking to mislead, and seeking to give it, their own, interpretation. And none knows its interpretation save Allah, and those firmly rooted in knowledge. They say, we believe in it, it is all from our Lord. And none mind except men of understanding. Consequence. Consequence is the most fundamental principle of existence. It is the most fundamental principle of mathematics, of Islam. Consequence is the most profound attribute of Allah, of the original man, the essence of the original man's nature. Consequence is just another name for justice. 18. There is no fear of God before their eyes. Romans 3. The devils have been making mischief and shedding blood for 6,000 years. Sowing the wind, now they are about to reap the whirlwind, 6,000 years of consequence. Capped by the last 400 years of unbound evil. They have no understanding, thus no fear of consequence. They have invented/contrived a consequence-free religion, Christianity. Jesus won't protect them. He's their executioner. Romans 3:10 As it is written, there is none righteous, not even one. 11 There is none who understands, there is none who seeks for God. 12 All have turned aside, together they have become useless, there is none who does good, there is not even one. 13 Their throat is an open grave, with their tongues they keep deceiving, the poison of asps is under their lips. 14 Whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. 15 Their feet are swift to shed blood. 16 Destruction and misery are in their paths. 17 And the path of peace they have not known. 18 There is no fear of God before their eyes. Samson. Once the war starts, and the powers in heaven are shaken, shattered, the demons, Christian, black-faced devils will go crazy. They are the Samson of the Bible, who have the strength of the original man, but not the nature or wisdom, as he is blind. The demons suffered much of the same horrors of enslavement as we did. They, seeing America's power evaporating right before their eyes, will seek revenge on America and Britain, the two pillars of Western civilization. They will tear America apart, setting ablaze all the major cities. They will cripple America, leaving America open to attack by Genghis Khan and the Mughals, destroying America and themselves in the process. The demons having been cast out, to follow their demon daddies over the cliff to their mutual destruction. Islam is mathematics, and mathematics is Islam. This statement is as clear as it is comprehensive. When you study mathematics, you are studying Islam. Islam is our reality. What is the most fundamental principle, the most fundamental concept of mathematics? It is consequence. Whatever is on one side of the equation, the equal sign, must be reflected on the other. In other words, both sides, the consequence must equal the action. Force is action. The reaction to force is an equal force. Pressure is force. Therefore the most fundamental principle of all reality is force/pressure. Pressure is mathematics, the essence of mathematics, the most profound expression of mathematics. Pressure is Islam, and Islam is pressure. Pressure has 5 fundamental properties, or pillars. Pressure is the subject, the fact. The 5 properties are the action, or verb nature of pressure. Faith is an action that's taken based on a fact. Faith is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, which means, Islam is the subject, the fact. The 5 pillars are the verbs of the subject, of the fact. Once you understand that Islam is mathematics, and that mathematics is a fact, then what actions will follow in recognition of that fact? Faith is the recognition that Islam is the fact of creation, of existence, of reality, and one's actions in recognition of that fact. One's actions, one's way of life. 26 For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. Faith is an action, not a statement. You have faith in consequence, so you are mindful, careful of your actions. Faith is a force. A force that one applies to achieve or realize one's will. Faith must be tethered to a fact or facts. Otherwise, it's just superstition. One has faith that a pot will boil when heated. They can't see the future, but by virtue of experience, a fact, they have faith that it will boil. Faith being the first and most fundamental pillar or principle of Islam/mathematics, is the principle on which the other 4 rest. The second pillar of Islam is salats. Some say prayer, but they are confusing prayer with salats. Salats are ritualistic, repetitive. Prayer is a direct communication with a/or the deity. That which is repetitive is circular. That which is repetitive circular spins. That which spins produces an axis, called torque. The greater the spin, the more upright the axis. Upright to 90 degrees perpendicular to the plane of spin. Salats, 5 daily, are a template provided by Muhammad to address this principle. The heart and voice are directly connected. The voice unfailing reflects what is in the heart. The process goes both ways. The heart is the engine of the circulatory system. The circulatory system is circular, circulates. Allah is understood to have the firmest of hearts. So, by reciting Allah's words, Quran, one can inculcate the firmness of Allah's heart into their heart, reversing the process. The more one recites, the greater the firmness. The greater the frequency, the more repetition, the greater the spin. The greater the spin, the more upright their axis, the more upright, the more righteous they are/will become. The recitals being repetitive, 5 times daily, is circular/circuitous, spinning. Salats are aimed at the heart. The heart is the core or engine of the circulatory system. The circulatory system is a spinning system by definition. The more you recite, the greater the spin, the greater the torque, which is the force of your axis. The greater your spin, the more upright your axis. This is the connection between the second pillar of Islam and the second principle of pressure. Zakat, charity, is the process of transferring resources from those who have, to those who have less, or who have not. That is, by definition, a current. A current is the transfer of energy/pressure from high pressure to low or lower pressure. Once the transfer is complete, equality is the result. Equality is the essence of pressure, or Islam. You will find equality at the root of all the 5 pillars. That's why zakat is the fulcrum of the 5 pillars, as it is the point of balance, equality between all 5 pillars. Currents are powerful phenomena. Tornadoes are currents, hurricanes are currents. You can create a financial current by constantly giving all to the poor. Understanding the balance, if you give, it will come back to you instantaneously, in some form. The greater the frequency of giving, the greater the positive current. Taking/stealing creates a negative current. You can create a hurricane that will blow you away by taking. You can create a tornado that will blow your enemies away by giving. You give someone $1 million that is $1 million beyond their energy balance, you have created a hurricane in their life, $1 million hurricane. Consider the history of so-called mega lottery winners. Fasting in the sense of this pillar, is primarily the abstinence of food. Food has 2 aspects, the nutrition and the energy component. You take in the food loaded with nutrition, which the digestive system must convert to energy. The conversion process slows you down, mentally and physically. When you are fasting, you restrain/stop the conversion process, which maximizes one's energy, mental and physical. Undigested nutrition reduces blood in the system, which reduces the level of oxygen to the brain. Every meal, any consumption of food, takes from 12 to 18 hours to be digested. During this period, the oxygen to your brain is diminished. The oxygen to your muscles is diminished, resulting in a slowing down of brain function, and possible cramps from insufficient oxygen to muscles. Understanding pressure, we know that we all have equal force. Fasting, the 4th pillar of Islam, is the 4th principle of pressure. Pressure has 2 components, mass food times acceleration energy equals force. Fasting maximizes the oxygen to the brain, muscles, and all other organs. The digestive function minimizes the oxygen to the brain and muscles. Understanding this, it is clear that your most energetic state, your most conscious state is when your digestive system is inactive. The best state is the period after the last meal has been digested, which is about 12 to 18 hours, for as long as able, where your muscles and brain are receiving maximum oxygenation. The better the flow of oxygen to the brain and muscles, the better they function. In addition to increasing the efficiency of the immune system properties of the blood. Fasting is the act of maximizing the oxygen, maximizing the fire/energy, maximizing one's energy/activity, while minimizing the deleterious effects of the digestive system on the circulatory system by decreasing the frequency, but not the quantity of sustenance/food. Instead of eating 1000 calories 3 times each day, 3000 calories 1 time per day. Eating 6000 calories every 2 days. No loss of calories, maximum oxidization of the blood.
The Hajj symbolized by the circling of the Kaaba. You have people from every corner of the planet, every walk of life, every ethnic group, every social group, rich, poor, male and female, no distinguishing characteristics, circling the Kaaba in peace and harmony, no conflict, none whatsoever. Harmony. Everyone moving/walking in harmony with one idea, one purpose, unified, uniformed. That's what the Hajj, the 5th pillar of Islam, represents. The 5th pillar of Islam is the 5th principle of pressure, harmonic motion. One might ask, why have I never heard this before? Are the imams, the Islamic scholars, the Islamic scientists hiding this? Answer, no, they are not hiding it. They don't know it. It is as much news to them as it is to you. They are not teaching Islam. They are teaching their limited very limited idea of Islam. In some cases, the Christianization of Islam. The Imams have positioned themselves representatives of Muhammad and of Allah when they are neither. Muhammad left a template called the 5 pillars. It's just a template to build upon. The foundation will never change, as the 5 pillars are the 5 pillars of creation and will last as long as the creation lasts. The new, imminent, and forever kingdom will be built on that foundation.
The Injil is the language of the Bible. You cannot understand the scriptures if you don't understand the Injil language. The earth is symbolic of European/Caucasian countries. Adam was made from the dust of the earth. Adam, Britain is an island country off the coast of Europe. Britain is not Europe, but its inhabitants are European. Britain is composed of rejects, refugees, immigrant, exiles, fugitives, dust from Europe, the earth. The English language is a smorgasbord of European languages. Adam, Britain was put into a deep sleep, which was the so-called 1,000 years Dark Ages, medieval. The deep sleep was triggered by the rise of Prophet Muhammad and resurrection of Islam that bottled up the Caucasians, Christians, and Jews in Europe, the abyss, for 1,000 years as stated in chapter 20 of the Injil. When Adam, Britain awoke from his 1,000 years slumber, Eve, America, was taken from his side. Eve, America, having been taken from the side of Adam, though still attached, was later separated and the point of separation severed/closed. America was a colony of Britain, from which America was later separated becoming independent, the Revolutionary War. Adam and Eve had 3 sons, Abel, Seth and Cain. Seth is Syria, Abel is Iran, and Cain is false Israel. Iran and Syria as well as Iraq, Kuwait etc. are all countries invented by Britain/Adam. When Britain occupied the Middle East, they drew artificial borders which never existed previously. Adam and Eve produces false Israel in 1948. To counter Elijah's narrative that the original people are the true seed of Abraham, America/Gog had to create a counter-narrative, thereby establishing a Jewish state taking others' land. Cain, false Israel, slays his brothers. A tree was transplanted from Africa, a tree called the tree of good and evil, which is also the tree of life. Adam and Eve were told not to eat of the tree of good and evil. The command to Adam and Eve was to not consume/exterminate their blacks. There were 3 creatures or beasts in the garden, who Adam gave English names to. The names of the nations are English names, which they don't call themselves. Eve eats from the tree she was commanded not to eat of. America has contrived a war, which it plans to be rid of/exterminate their blacks. The final solution, abortion having failed. Genocide under the color of war. Adam/Britain follows Eve/America's lead and he too eats from the tree. America moves on Iran, being opposed by Russia and Europe. Christian blacks are being set up to be drafted to be exterminated in battle, fighting for their country. Genocide under the color of war. The tree is the original nation, which is also symbolized by eyes. Having eaten, Adam/Britain, Eve/America, now have eyes. They clothe themselves with sackcloth, which are the two witnesses of chapter 11 of the Injil, to cover their nakedness. This is the upcoming war, the rise of the Shia, throwing America, Britain, and false Israel out of the Middle East. The fight between Michael and his angels and the dragon and its angels. The serpent is forced upon its belly. The blowing of the four winds. The resurrection of the dead, the original nation. Eve smites serpent's head. Serpent's head smites Eve's heel. This represents the resurrection of the original nation by the Son of Man. Every eye will see him. Each creature had eyes before and behind, which represents the original nation being scattered among the nations.